Welcome to Meet Patel Audiobooks. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing. Let's begin.
Supreme Billionaire System. Chapter 1, The City of Gold. Meet Patel audio book. Rain covered the streets of Novara City, the richest city in the country of Eldoria. Tall silver towers touched the dark clouds while luxury cars moved through glowing streets filled with money, power, and ambition. But not everyone in Novaris lived a perfect life. Inside a small old apartment near West Bridge District, Damien Cole sat silently beside a weak yellow lamp. The cold wind entered through the cracked window while unpaid bills covered his tiny table. At 21 years old, Damien's life was miserable. During the day, he studied at Novaris Elite University, a place filled with children of billionaires and powerful families. At night, he worked part-time at a small cafe just to survive. Many students mocked him because of his cheap clothes and worn shoes. Damien slowly checked his wallet. Only 12 vels remained. He gave a tired smile. Not even enough for tomorrow. Far away outside his window, the massive golden screen of the Oryx Grand Hotel lit the night sky. Rich people entered the luxury hotel wearing expensive suits and sparkling jewelry. That world felt impossibly far from him. Damien closed his eyes for a moment. Sometimes he wondered if people like him were simply born to lose. Suddenly. Ding! A strange blue light appeared before his eyes. Damien instantly stood up in shock. Lines of glowing text floated in the darkness. Supreme Billionaire System activated. Host confirmed, Damien Cole. Beginning first wealth mission. His breathing stopped. The room became completely silent. And Damien's ordinary life began to change forever. Supreme Billionaire System. Chapter 2, First Mission. Meet Patel audio book. Damien Cole stared at the glowing blue screen floating in front of him. His small apartment became silent except for the sound of rain hitting the cracked window. First wealth mission activated. Earn 5,000 vels within 7 days. Reward, 20,000 vels plus beginner gift pack. Damien's heartbeat accelerated. 5,000 vels. For someone rich, that amount was nothing. But for Damien, who only had 12 vels left in his wallet, it felt impossible. He slowly reached toward the holographic screen, but his hand passed directly through it. This is real. The screen suddenly changed again. System warning. Host must complete missions to unlock future rewards. Failure will reduce future opportunities. Damien swallowed nervously. For years, his life had been nothing but endless struggle. Cheap food. Small apartment. Constant humiliation from rich students at Novaris Elite University. But now, this system could finally change everything. The next morning, Damien arrived at his part-time cafe job near the university district. Students filled the shop wearing expensive watches and luxury brands while laughing loudly with their friends. Damien quietly cleaned tables while listening to their conversations about supercars and private vacations. That world felt far away from him. Suddenly, a luxurious black car stopped outside the cafe. Students immediately turned toward the window in excitement. The car door slowly opened. A girl stepped out wearing a white coat and black heels, her long golden hair moving gently in the cold wind. For a moment, the entire cafe became quiet. Damien looked up. And for the first time, he saw Victoria Hale. Supreme Billionaire System. Chapter 3, The Girl from Another World. Meet Patel audio book. The cafe became unusually quiet the moment Victoria Hale entered. Rainwater reflected the glowing city lights behind her while the rich students near the entrance immediately began whispering among themselves. She's from the Hale family. I heard her father owns luxury hotels across Eldoria. Even the university directors respect them. Damien silently looked away and continued wiping the counter. People like her belong to a completely different world. Victoria walked calmly through the cafe wearing a white coat over a black dress. Her appearance was elegant without trying too hard. Every movement carried confidence. But unlike the arrogant rich students around her, her eyes looked calm. She stepped toward the counter. "1 caramel latte," she said softly. Damien nodded. "Coming right away." As he prepared the coffee, he could feel several students staring toward him with jealousy. Why was Victoria Hale talking directly to a poor cafe worker? Damien ignored them and placed the drink carefully in front of her. Your latte. Victoria looked at his name tag for a moment. Damien Cole. Her voice was quiet but clear. Before Damien could reply, a loud mocking laugh suddenly echoed through the cafe. Well, isn't this pathetic? 3 wealthy university students entered together. Expensive watches sparkled beneath the cafe lights while people quickly moved aside for them. At the center stood Logan Pierce, one of the richest heirs in Novaris University. Logan smirked after seeing Damien. You still work here like a servant. The cafe atmosphere instantly became tense. Damien remained silent. But Logan wasn't finished. I heard you couldn't even pay your apartment rent this month, he said loudly. Honestly, people without money shouldn't study at elite universities. Several students laughed quietly. Damien clenched his fists beneath the counter. Then, ding! A blue screen suddenly appeared before his eyes. Special system mission activated. Humiliate Logan Pierce in public. Reward, 50,000 vels plus charisma upgrade. Damien's heartbeat accelerated. Humiliate Logan. In front of everyone. This mission sounded insane. Logan noticed Damien staring silently and laughed again. What? Did poverty finally break your brain? The entire cafe watched the scene carefully. Even Victoria turned toward Damien with curiosity in her beautiful eyes. For the first time in years, Damien slowly raised his head and looked directly at Logan Pierce. Supreme Billionaire System. Chapter 4, Public Humiliation. Meet Patel audio book. The entire cafe became silent as Damien Cole stared directly into Logan Pierce's eyes. For years, Damien had always avoided conflict. He stayed quiet, lowered his head, and endured every insult thrown at him. But this time felt different. The glowing system screen still floated before him. Mission active. Humiliate Logan Pierce in public. Damien took a slow breath. Logan laughed mockingly. Why are you staring at me like that? Did a poor loser suddenly grow courage? Several rich students nearby burst into laughter. Victoria Hale remained seated quietly, observing Damien carefully. Then Damien spoke calmly. At least I earn my own money. The laughter instantly stopped. Logan's expression darkened slightly. Damien continued wiping the counter casually. You spend your father's money every day while acting superior to everyone. Tell me honestly, Logan, what exactly have you achieved by yourself? The cafe atmosphere froze. No one expected Damien to speak back. Logan stepped forward angrily. Watch your mouth. But Damien no longer looked intimidated. For someone so rich, you seem obsessed with mocking a cafe worker. Damien looked directly at him. Maybe deep down, you know money is the only thing people respect about you. A few students secretly nodded. Even Logan's own friends looked uncomfortable. Victoria slowly covered her smile with her coffee cup. Logan's face turned red with anger. You think you're better than me, he snapped. Damien answered immediately. No. I just think I'll become more successful than you one day. The confidence in Damien's voice shocked everyone. For a brief moment, the poor cafe worker standing behind the counter looked far more impressive than the wealthy heir wearing designer clothes. Ding. Mission completed. Reward, 50,000 vels. Charisma upgrade successfully applied. A strange warm sensation spread through Damien's body. His posture straightened naturally. His tired appearance suddenly felt sharper and more confident. Even the way he looked at people changed completely. Victoria noticed it immediately. Her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly with curiosity. Logan clenched his fists in humiliation as whispers spread across the cafe. For the first time in years, Damien Cole had humiliated someone else instead of being humiliated himself. Chapter 5, Beginner Gift Pack. Logan Pierce left the cafe with an ugly expression while whispers spread across the room. No one could believe what had just happened. Damien Cole, the quiet poor student everyone ignored, had publicly embarrassed one of the richest heirs in Novaris Elite University. Even after Logan disappeared outside, the atmosphere remained tense. Damien tried to stay calm, but inside, his heart was racing wildly. Ding! The blue system screen appeared again before his eyes. Mission reward delivered. 50,000 vels successfully deposited. Beginner gift pack unlocked. Damien froze. 50,000 vels. That amount was more money than he had ever seen in his entire life. His breathing became heavier. Damien. Victoria Hale's voice suddenly pulled him back to reality. She stood near the counter holding her coffee cup while quietly observing him. "You surprised everyone just now," she said softly. Damien forced a calm expression. "I only said the truth." Victoria smiled slightly. For the first time, Damien noticed how beautiful her smile actually was. Unlike the fake smiles of rich students trying to show superiority, Victoria's expression felt natural and warm. Before Damien could respond again, the cafe manager suddenly rushed toward him nervously. "Damien." Uncle Bren whispered urgently. "Logan Pierce just called the owner." Damien frowned. "And?" Uncle Bren sighed heavily. "The owner doesn't want trouble with the Pierce family." "You're fired." Silence. Several students nearby immediately began whispering again. Some looked sympathetic. Others looked amused. Damien slowly removed his cafe apron without saying anything. This job had been his only stable income for almost 2 years. But strangely, he didn't feel panic anymore. Because for the first time in his life, he had another path. Victoria looked genuinely surprised. "They fired you because of that?" she asked coldly. Uncle Bren lowered his head helplessly. "The Pierce family has influence everywhere." Damien picked up his old bag calmly. "It's fine," he said quietly. But deep inside, anger burned stronger than ever. Logan Pierce thought money allowed him to control everything. Fine. Then Damien would become richer than every single one of them. Ding! Beginner gift pack opening. A golden light spread across the holographic screen. Reward acquired. Luxury market information card. Host will receive one high-profit business opportunity within 24 hours. Damien's eyes narrowed slightly. A business opportunity. The system was finally beginning to show its true power. Victoria watched him carefully. For some reason, the poor student standing before her no longer felt ordinary. It felt like something inside Damien Cole had completely awakened. Outside the cafe window, the golden lights of Novara City continued shining across the rainy streets. A city ruled by money. And tonight, Damien had taken his first real step toward conquering it. Supreme Billionaire System. Chapter 6, The Luxury Opportunity. Meet Patel audio book. Cold rain covered the streets of Novara City while Damien Cole walked beneath the glowing neon lights alone. Despite losing his cafe job earlier, his expression remained calm. Because inside his account now existed something that completely changed his future. 50,000 vels. For the first time in years, Damien no longer needed to worry about rent or food. But more importantly, he had the system. Ding! The blue holographic screen suddenly appeared before his eyes again. Luxury market information card activated. Searching for high-profit opportunity. Several glowing lines moved rapidly across the screen before stopping. Opportunity found. Item, Aurelius Royal Watch. Current price, 8,000 vels. Predicted auction value within 72 hours, 120,000 vels. Location, Velmont Luxury Mall. Damien's heartbeat accelerated. A luxury watch worth over 100,000 vels in 3 days. If the system prediction was real, this could become his first major profit. Without hesitation, Damien immediately called a taxi. Half an hour later, he arrived at Velmont Luxury Mall, the most expensive shopping center in Novara City. Golden lights reflected across the massive glass buildings while luxury cars filled the entrance. People dressed in designer brands walked confidently through the elegant halls. Normally, Damien would never even enter a place like this. But tonight felt different. He calmly followed the floating system map until he reached a luxury watch store called Crown and Time. Inside the glass display stood dozens of expensive watches sparkling beneath bright white lights. Then Damien saw it, the Aurelius Royal Watch. Silver body. Dark blue dial. Elegant and luxurious. Exactly like the system description. A female employee walked toward him politely. "Can I help you, sir?" Damien pointed directly at the watch. "I want that one." The employee checked the price quickly. 8,000 vels. Without hesitation, Damien transferred the money immediately. The employee froze slightly after seeing the successful payment. Several nearby customers looked surprised. A poorly dressed university student casually buying a luxury watch looked strange in a place like this. Damien carefully picked up the elegant watch box. This would become the beginning of his rise. But just as he turned around, a familiar voice suddenly echoed behind him. "You again." Damien looked up slowly. Standing near the entrance in expensive black clothes was Logan Pierce. And judging from the mocking smile on his face, trouble had arrived once again. Supreme Billionaire System. Chapter 7, The Invitation. Meet Patel audio book. The atmosphere inside Crown and Time became tense the moment Logan Pierce walked closer. His expensive black suit and arrogant smile immediately attracted attention from nearby customers. Logan looked at the luxury watch on Damien's wrist and laughed quietly. "Aurelius Royal watch," he mocked. "That watch costs more than your entire apartment." His friends laughed behind him. But Damien remained calm. "I paid for it myself." Logan smirked coldly. With cafe money, several people nearby began whispering quietly while observing Damien carefully. No one understood how a poor university student suddenly bought such an expensive luxury item. Logan stepped closer and lowered his voice slightly. "Listen carefully, Damien. Buying one expensive watch won't turn you into someone important." Damien looked directly into his eyes. "And mocking people won't make you important either." The surrounding customers instantly became silent. Logan's expression darkened. For years, Damien had always avoided confrontation. But now his confidence felt completely different. Even the luxury store employees noticed it. Damien slowly adjusted the silver watch on his wrist. The elegant design made him look sharper and more mature despite his simple clothes. For the first time in a long while, he didn't feel inferior standing beside rich people. Logan suddenly laughed again, though his eyes looked colder than before. "Fine," he said. "If you want to pretend you belong in high society so badly, then prove it." He pointed toward the upper floor of the mall where giant golden banners hung from the ceiling. "Orex Grand Luxury Auction, tomorrow night. The richest families in Novara City will attend," Logan continued mockingly. "Rare watches, luxury jewelry, expensive art, real elite people." His smirk widened. "If you're brave enough, come there tomorrow night." After saying that, Logan turned around confidently. His friends followed behind him while laughing quietly. But before leaving, Logan stopped one final time. "Oh right," he added coldly, "entry tickets cost 20,000 vels." Then he walked away. Damien stood silently inside the luxury store while staring toward the golden auction banner above. 20,000 vels just for entry. A few days ago, such an amount would have sounded impossible. But now. Ding! The blue system screen suddenly appeared again before his eyes. New mission activated. Attend the Orex Grand Luxury Auction. Reward, mystery investment opportunity. Damien slowly smiled. Looks like tomorrow night, things were about to become interesting. Supreme Billionaire System. Chapter 9, Standing Beside Her. Meet Patel audio book. The elegant ballroom of Orex Grand Hotel became strangely quiet around Damien, Victoria, and Logan. Soft music continued playing beneath the crystal chandeliers while wealthy guests moved around the luxurious hall, but Logan Pierce's sharp eyes remained fixed on Damien. Especially on the Aurelius Royal watch resting on his wrist. Logan forced a smile. "Impressive," he said slowly. "Looks like you really spent everything just to enter this place." Damien remained calm. "At least I entered." The nearby atmosphere instantly became tense again. Victoria quietly hid a small smile behind her wine glass. Logan noticed immediately, and his expression darkened slightly. For years, people in university circles constantly tried gaining Victoria Hale's attention. She came from one of the wealthiest families in Novara City, and her beauty only increased her popularity. But tonight, she was standing beside Damien. Logan stepped closer. "You should be careful here," he said coldly. "This isn't some cheap cafe." Damien looked directly into his eyes. "And yet you still keep following me." A few nearby guests turned toward them after hearing that reply. Logan clenched his jaw. Before he could answer, Victoria suddenly spoke calmly. "I invited Damien to stay with me tonight." Silence. Even Damien looked slightly surprised. Logan stared at Victoria in disbelief. "You know him?" Victoria nodded naturally. "We've met several times already." The answer made Logan's expression turn uglier. He looked at Damien with growing irritation before finally laughing coldly. "Fine," Logan said. "Let's see how long someone like him survives in high society." After saying that, he turned and disappeared into the crowd. Victoria watched him leave before quietly sighing. "He's becoming more annoying lately." Damien smiled faintly. "You noticed too?" Victoria laughed softly. For the first time that night, Damien truly relaxed. Standing beside Victoria beneath the golden ballroom lights felt strangely comfortable. Unlike others, she never looked down on him. Then suddenly, ding! The blue holographic screen appeared before Damien's eyes. "Special opportunity detected. Rare auction item will appear tonight. Potential profit, 2.5 million vels." Damien's heartbeat accelerated instantly. 2.5 million. His eyes slowly moved toward the giant auction stage at the center of the ballroom. The real game was finally beginning. Victoria noticed his serious expression and tilted her head slightly. "What are you thinking about?" Damien looked toward the stage and smiled calmly. "About becoming rich." Victoria stared at him for a second before smiling softly herself. For some reason, she felt like Damien Cole was truly going to do it. Supreme Billionaire System. Chapter 10, The First Auction Battle. Meet Patel audio book. The lights inside Orex Grand Hotel slowly dimmed as the luxury auction officially began. Guests moved toward their seats while expensive jewelry, rare artwork, and luxury collectibles appeared one by one on the massive digital screen above the stage. Damien sat beside Victoria Hale near the center section of the ballroom. Even now, he still felt slightly unreal sitting among billionaires and wealthy elites. But Victoria looked completely relaxed. "You seem calmer now," she said softly. Damien smiled faintly. "Maybe I'm getting used to this world." Victoria looked at him carefully. For some reason, Damien no longer felt like the poor student everyone mocked at university. His confidence had changed completely. Meanwhile, across the ballroom, Logan Pierce watched them coldly. Especially the way Victoria continued talking comfortably with Damien. It irritated him more than he expected. The auction host suddenly raised his voice proudly. "Next item." A beautiful silver necklace appeared beneath golden lights, instantly attracting attention from wealthy guests. Bidding started immediately. 120,000. 150,000. 200,000. The atmosphere quickly became intense as rich families competed casually with amounts Damien once considered impossible. Then, ding! The blue holographic screen suddenly appeared before Damien's eyes. "Rare item approaching. Prepare for acquisition." His heartbeat accelerated slightly. Moments later, the auction host smiled again. "Our next item is extremely special." A staff member carefully carried a small black box onto the stage. Inside rested an elegant golden watch with a dark emerald dial. The ballroom immediately filled with whispers. "The Solaris Emperor. That watch disappeared years ago. I heard collectors offered millions for it." Damien's eyes narrowed instantly. The system screen glowed brighter. Target item confirmed. Estimated future value, 5 million vels. Current auction prediction, underpriced. Damien's breathing slowed. This was the opportunity. The host announced calmly, starting bid, 300,000 vels. The ballroom became quiet for a second. Then bidding exploded, 400,000, 550,000, 700,000. Damien watched silently while numbers continued rising rapidly. Victoria noticed his serious expression. "You want that watch?" she asked softly. Damien looked toward the stage. "Yes." Across the ballroom, Logan Pierce suddenly smirked after noticing Damien's attention on the Solaris Emperor. Then Logan calmly raised his bidding card. 1,000,000 vels. The entire ballroom reacted instantly. And Logan's eyes slowly turned toward Damien with a mocking smile. The challenge had officially begun. Supreme Billionaire System. Chapter 11, 1,000,000 vels. Meet Patel audio book. The atmosphere inside the auction hall became intense after Logan Pierce casually offered 1,000,000 vels for the Solaris Emperor watch. Whispers immediately spread among the wealthy guests. As expected from the Pierce family. 1,000,000 without hesitation. That watch is becoming tonight's centerpiece. Logan leaned back in his chair confidently while enjoying the attention around him. Then his eyes slowly moved toward Damien. The mocking smile on his face clearly said one thing: you can't compete with me. Beside Damien, Victoria quietly frowned. Logan's doing this on purpose, she whispered softly. Damien already understood that. Logan didn't actually care about the watch anymore. He simply wanted to humiliate Damien publicly in front of Novara City's elite society. But Damien remained calm. Because the blue system screen still floated before his eyes. Current item value analysis. Recommended maximum bid, 1.8 million vels. Future estimated worth, 5 million vels. This watch would become a massive profit opportunity. Damien slowly raised his bidding card, 1.2 million. The entire ballroom instantly turned silent. Even the auction host looked surprised. Many guests immediately turned toward Damien with shocked expressions. Who is that? I've never seen him before. He's bidding against Logan Pierce. Logan's confident smile slowly disappeared. His eyes narrowed coldly after seeing Damien calmly sitting beside Victoria. Then Logan laughed mockingly. 1.5 million. The crowd reacted again. But this time Damien didn't hesitate. 1.7 million. Victoria's beautiful eyes widened slightly. Even she didn't expect Damien to possess this much money. Across the ballroom, Logan's expression became increasingly ugly. For the first time tonight, someone was challenging him openly. The auction hall became completely silent while everyone waited for Logan's next move. His fingers tightened around the bidding card. But before he could speak, an alderman sitting near the front suddenly raised his hand calmly. 2 million. The entire ballroom exploded into whispers. Even Logan looked shocked. The old man wore a dark silver suit and carried an overwhelming aura of authority. Victoria's expression changed slightly after seeing him. That's... Damien looked toward her. You know him. Victoria nodded slowly. Victor Blackwood. One of the richest businessmen in Eldoria. And now. He was staring directly at Damien with deep interest in his eyes. Supreme Billionaire System. Chapter 12, Victor Blackwood. Meet Patel audio book. The entire auction hall fell silent after the new bid appeared. 2 million. The calm voice carried overwhelming pressure throughout the ballroom. Every guest immediately turned toward the front row. Victor Blackwood. One of the most powerful businessmen in Eldoria. His luxury hotel empire, private resorts, and real estate companies stretched across the entire country. In Novara City alone, his influence was enormous. And now, he was participating personally in the auction. Even Logan Pierce looked slightly uncomfortable after seeing him. No wonder he's interested in the Solaris Emperor, someone whispered nearby. That watch perfectly matches Blackwood collection standards. Damien quietly observed Victor Blackwood from across the ballroom. The alderman looked calm and elegant in his dark silver suit, but his eyes carried the sharpness of someone who had ruled the business world for decades. Then unexpectedly, Victor looked directly back at Damien. For a brief moment, their eyes met. And Damien instantly understood something. Victor Blackwood had noticed him long before this bid. Beside Damien, Victoria lowered her voice slightly. Be careful around him, she warned softly. People say Victor Blackwood can read others better than anyone. Damien smiled faintly. That sounds dangerous. Victoria almost laughed. Meanwhile, the auction host quickly recovered from the shock. 2 million vels from Mr. Victor Blackwood, he announced loudly. The hall remained quiet. No one wanted to compete against such a powerful figure. Especially not Logan Pierce. His jaw tightened slightly before he finally lowered his bidding card in frustration. The Solaris Emperor watch officially belonged to Victor Blackwood. But Damien wasn't disappointed. Because the system screen suddenly appeared again. Mission completed. Host successfully entered Elite Attention Circle. Reward, 500,000 vels. New passive skill unlocked, Luxury Market Insight. Damien's heartbeat accelerated. 500,000 vels. And a new skill. This auction had already become far more valuable than expected. Then suddenly, a hotel employee approached Damien respectfully. Mr. Cole, the employee said carefully, Mr. Blackwood wishes to speak with you privately. Victoria's eyes widened slightly. Even Logan Pierce turned around in disbelief after hearing that. Because everyone in Novara City knew one thing. Victor Blackwood never invited ordinary people to private conversations. And tonight, he had chosen Damien Cole. Supreme Billionaire System. Chapter 13, The Private Invitation. Meet Patel audio book. The luxurious ballroom remained noisy with whispers after the Solaris Emperor auction ended. But Damien's attention stayed fixed on the hotel employee standing before him. Mr. Blackwood wishes to speak with you privately. Those words alone were enough to shock everyone nearby. Even Logan Pierce looked stunned. Victor Blackwood was one of the most influential businessmen in Eldoria. Countless wealthy heirs tried gaining his attention every year, yet most never even received a greeting from him, and now he personally invited Damien. Victoria looked toward Damien quietly. You should go, she said softly. Opportunities like this don't happen twice. Damien nodded calmly, though inside, his thoughts were racing. Why would someone like Victor Blackwood care about him? The hotel employee respectfully guided Damien away from the ballroom toward the upper floors of Oryx Grand Hotel. As the elevator doors opened, Damien stepped into a private luxury lounge overlooking the glowing skyline of Novara City. Floor-to-ceiling glass windows reflected golden lights across the dark night while soft piano music played quietly in the background. And standing beside the window was Victor Blackwood. The alderman slowly turned around while holding a glass of wine. Up close, his presence felt even more overwhelming. Mr. Damien Cole, Victor said calmly. Please, sit. Damien remained composed and took a seat across from him. For several seconds, Victor simply observed him silently. Then he smiled faintly. You're interesting. Damien raised an eyebrow slightly. That's unexpected. Victor chuckled softly. A poor university student suddenly appearing at elite auctions, buying luxury watches, and openly competing against wealthy heirs. His sharp eyes narrowed slightly. People like you usually have a story. Damien stayed calm. And people like you usually investigate others before inviting them upstairs. Victor laughed for the first time. The response clearly amused him. I like confidence, Victor admitted. Especially from young people. He slowly placed a black business card onto the table. The silver symbol on it looked elegant and expensive. Blackwood Group, one of the largest luxury corporations in Eldoria. Victor leaned back calmly. I'll speak directly, he said. I think you have potential. Damien looked at him carefully. Potential. Victor's next words immediately changed the atmosphere. How would you feel about entering the luxury business world? At that exact moment. Ding! The blue holographic screen suddenly appeared before Damien's eyes. Hidden elite mission activated. Gain Victor Blackwood's trust. Reward, major wealth opportunity. Supreme Billionaire System. Chapter 14, The Blackwood Test. Meet Patel audio book. The luxurious private lounge remained silent after Victor Blackwood's question. How would you feel about entering the luxury business world? Damien calmly looked at the powerful businessman sitting across from him. Most people in Eldoria would probably become nervous in this situation. But Damien only asked one thing. Why me? Victor Blackwood smiled faintly, clearly impressed by the response. Most young people would immediately say yes, he replied calmly. But you asked the correct question first. The older man slowly walked toward the massive glass window overlooking Novara City. Golden lights reflected across the skyline while luxury cars moved through the streets far below. This city worships money, Victor said quietly. But very few people actually understand how wealth works. He turned back toward Damien. Tonight, while everyone else focused on status and pride, you focused on opportunity. Damien remained silent. Victor's sharp eyes narrowed slightly. You didn't want the Solaris Emperor watch because it looked expensive. He smiled faintly. You wanted it because you knew its future value. For the first time since receiving the system, Damien felt genuinely shocked. How did Victor notice that? As if reading his thoughts, Victor chuckled softly. I built my empire by observing people, he explained. And you are not ordinary. Ding. Mission progress updated. Victor Blackwood Trust, 35%. The holographic screen disappeared quickly. Victor returned to his seat before calmly sliding a small file across the table. Inside were documents and photos of a luxury property near the coast of Eldoria. A small private resort, Victor explained. Beautiful location. Huge potential. Damien studied the file carefully. But, he asked. Victor smiled slightly. The owner is desperate to sell. Most investors believe the property will fail. He leaned forward calmly. I want to know your opinion. Damien's eyes narrowed slightly. This was a test. Victor Blackwood wasn't inviting him into the luxury world yet. He was measuring him first. At that moment. Ding. The system screen appeared again. Luxury Market Insight activated. Property analysis in progress. Several blue lines scanned across the file in Damien's hands. Then the final result appeared. Hidden value detected. Future estimated worth increase, 700%. Recommendation, acquire immediately. Damien's heartbeat accelerated slightly. This resort was worth far more than anyone realized. Victor quietly observed Damien's expression. So, he asked calmly. Damien slowly closed the file. Then for the first time since entering the lounge, he smiled confidently. I think everyone else is making a very expensive mistake. Supreme Billionaire System. Chapter 15, A Dangerous Opportunity. Victor Blackwood remained silent for several seconds after hearing Damien's answer. I think everyone else is making a very expensive mistake. The older businessman slowly smiled. That response alone already separated Damien from ordinary people. Most young investors would either hesitate nervously or blindly praise the property without understanding anything. But Damien sounded confident. Too confident. Victor leaned back calmly in his chair. Interesting, he said quietly. Tell me why. Damien lowered his eyes toward the resort documents again. The coastal property looked beautiful even in photographs. White beaches, luxury villas, private docks, and ocean views that could easily attract wealthy tourists. Yet the resort was nearly bankrupt. Most investors considered it a failed business. But the system already revealed the truth. Ding. Additional information unlocked. Future government coastal development project detected. Property value explosion expected within 8 months. Damien's heartbeat accelerated slightly. So that was the hidden reason. The government planned major development near the coastline, meaning land prices around the resort would eventually skyrocket. Nobody knew yet. Except him. Damien calmly closed the file. People only see the resort's current losses, he explained. They ignore its location and future value. Victor's eyes sharpened slightly. And what future value do you see? Damien answered without hesitation. If the surrounding coastline develops, this property could become one of the most valuable luxury resorts in Eldoria. Silence filled the private lounge. Then Victor Blackwood slowly laughed, a genuine laugh. You really are interesting, he admitted. Even after decades in business, very few people could analyze opportunities this quickly. Especially not a 21-year-old university student. Victor stood up and walked toward the city window once again. You know, he said calmly, wealthy families in Novara City spend their entire lives protecting money. He glanced back toward Damien. But true billionaires know how to find opportunities before everyone else. For the first time tonight, Victor Blackwood looked at Damien less like a student and more like a future businessman. Ding. Mission progress updated. Victor Blackwood Trust, 60%. Reward available soon. Damien quietly controlled his excitement. He was getting closer. Very close. Victor suddenly placed another document onto the table. This resort owner is desperate, he said calmly. If someone moves quickly, the property can be purchased for far below its true worth. Damien looked at the numbers carefully. Then his eyes narrowed slightly. Even with all his current money, he still couldn't afford it alone, Victor noticed immediately. And slowly smiled. What if, he said quietly, I offered you a partnership?